Hi everyone, welcome back to Insider Guys Industry Chats. I'm here today with Angela Beechey from StudyPerth, and I wanted to speak to Angela today to get an insight into the StudyPerth Crisis Relief Package. And it's an interesting package which deals with acute needs of international students on a case-by-case basis. And it's really about helping students get through this COVID-19 pandemic by offering sort of practical help, practical solutions, things like that. So thanks so much for coming here today, Angela. And yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So Angela, can you tell us a bit more about the StudyPerth Crisis Relief Package?
Yeah, so we launched it last Wednesday. We've been working on it for a little while, and it's basically a program that's been created using funding from our postponed or curtailed projects that we had for the remainder of this financial year and leading into the next financial year as well. So it will be accessible by application from individual international students in Western Australia who are in that immediate need for emergency food or shelter, so acute need as we like to call it. But it's been developed following a strict protocol to assess the support that's already available to students, because there is a lot out there at the moment. Basically, we've launched this kind of reach out area on our website and a new email inbox where we triage any inquiries that have come through. In a first case, we checked that the student has spoken to their institution, who in the case in Western Australia, all 5 universities have support packages available. If there's nothing available at a different institution, we then advise them to contact their most appropriate consul, ethnic association or business council. And in a lot of cases, they've already got support measures available as well. So once all of the available institution and community support has been exhausted, then we advise them to apply to the StudyPerth Crisis Relief as well. So it makes the system quite adaptable, which means we can add new initiatives as they emerge, whether it's kind of local relief packages or if a Commonwealth support hardship fund gets over the line as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see all the different levels of support, and I can only imagine it's quite confusing for the students. There's some at a charity levels. There's some at the state government, local government. There's some at the institution level, and community groups, sporting clubs as well. Just to clarify, the students that are eligible for this, which ones are? Is it all students who are international students, high school, vet, ELICOS, higher education?
Any student who is studying at an institution in Western Australia that has a CRICOS registration. So, and actually even recent graduates, so those students who work at one of those institutions and are now here on post-study work rights as well. We are prioritising students who do not have support available from their institution, which means that it doesn't exclude university students, but at the moment we would like them to go to the support that is already available, and we happily point them into the right direction and kind of follow up on that with them as well. But we're focusing on those students who don't have those mechanisms in place currently.
Okay, well, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, with that said as well, we're not actually providing cash payments. We're providing up to 2 weeks support at a time, and that support is directly for accommodation and for food. So we pay for their accommodation, whether it's a private landlord, they're renting through a real estate agency, through to on-campus accommodation. We actually pay 2 weeks of that rent, and we also provide a Coles or Woolworths gift card as well, so that we can ensure that money's going to the right place.
Okay, cool. So I'll just clarify that. So StudyPerth's providing direct rental payments and supermarket gift cards over a 2-week period. So are these the critical concerns that students coming to you saying it's rent and it's groceries? These are the 2 things that I need help with.
Yes, definitely. I think those are the 2 things that, no matter if you're an international student or if you're an Australian resident, they are the 2 biggest priorities when it comes to something like COVID-19. We're kind of worried about livelihood. So we think that by solving those immediate needs, we'll get rid of some of the stresses, and students will be able to focus on the other important things in their lives. Yeah,
I think that's right. I think, focusing on this sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, once you look after food and shelter.
And the other support available, so whether it's internet access or kind of legal rights, those all exist within our community organisations that we're partnering with as well. So a lot of those things are already there, and we kind of connect them up as well.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a bit more about these partners. I mean, you're working with a number of crisis relief partners to establish a bit of a protocol that matches students with those who can provide food and shelter and health and wellbeing support and things like that. Can you tell us a bit more about those relationships and how they evolved and how you're working collaboratively with them?
Yes, of course. So we contacted all the major consuls, business councils and ethnic associations from our top 20 market source of international students, and we asked them all to confirm the type and scale of support that they were able to provide and any eligibility criteria that they had as well. It doesn't mean to say that if you're not in the top 20 priorities that we haven't reached out for you. We're doing that on an as-need basis. We do recognise that not all of them are in a position to help. There's kind of varying levels across the board, but many are, and they've responded wonderfully as well. And some of the consuls have actually said, we don't just need, it's not just students from that country, they're actually willing to kind of open up to regions as well and kind of get that support out there.
Yeah, I think dealing with the regions is going to be a whole different issue, especially in some of the states around Australia, where there are a lot of international students in the regions as well. I'd like to hear a little bit more about, so we're looking at this 2-week period here, where students are getting support and emergency relief for an initial 2-week period, and then essentially StudyPerth is looking at that on a case-by-case basis about which ones to renew. Can you tell us about sort of how that works a little bit if students need more than 2 weeks of support?
Yeah, so the extension beyond that will be on a case-by-case basis, as you mentioned, but we're using this initial period, it's kind of 2 weeks for StudyPerth to look at it as well, because we're assessing the nature and the scale of students' requirements to ensure that we actually have a sustainable solution going forward and that we are responding to those acute needs. In terms of longer term, a recent StudyPerth survey that we sent out to international students, we asked them what they actually were looking for support-wise in this time, and most of them said that what they wanted in this pandemic was not a handout. They actually wanted assistance in finding employment. So once students are out of that acute need, we'll be looking to move our focus towards assisting students to find employment as well. So students want to be able to support themselves. They're resilient. They've travelled across the world to be here, and employment is really a big part of that. So the associations we're working with, and particularly the business councils, are actually helping connect students with paid employment, and the Western Australia community will also be key parts of the success of this. So the closer we get back to normality, the closer that will be for the students as well, because they want jobs. And yeah,
and I think that is a great initiative, connecting students with jobs. I think the challenge will be connecting them with jobs that they can do. I mean, some of the issues relating to working hours every week, every fortnight, haven't necessarily changed for all students. So getting them I think that there's going to be a real tussle there between, governments around Australia saying we've got all these jobs that international students can do, and they say, oh, by the way, you can only do 20 hours a week, and there's actually most of the jobs that you're going for are sort of full time. I think there's going to have to be eventually some leeway, but that'll evolve over time. I'm curious about the obviously there's hardship funds from the public universities that will come out. What happens to those students that are at public and private or at private WA institutions or high schools and things like that? Are you encouraging them to go straight to you? Because I'm noticing that there is advice to go to your institution first to check with them.
Yeah, so if they come to us, we usually check that they have at least notified their institution of the situation. Okay. Universities are kind of on their own with that, because we refer them back to wherever they're at that stage. If they are yet to apply for hardship, if they have applied and are waiting to hear back, or if they have received that money and have potentially exhausted the funds. So we've got that protocol for university students. For those at non-university institutions, we do then make sure that their institution at least knows about the situation, because in all cases the institution wants to know what their student is going through and see if they can support in any way. We then refer them directly to their relevant consul, business council, whatever it may be, and then it's at that point where we've exhausted kind of those existing kind of packages that are available, that we then help them through the application process to apply for our StudyPerth crisis relief.
Okay. Yeah, so it seems relatively simple. It's just so interesting seeing how everyone's approaching the same situation in a slightly different way, and it's good. It's really good. I mean, everyone's got different issues they need to, and they've already got different mechanisms in place to deliver this support. So
Yeah.
while one state's offering cash, other ones are offering service and support and different jobs, and it's fascinating. It'll be interesting to see at the end of it which one was the most successful approach.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that the triaging and the connecting that students need, because when you've got a lot of stress in your life, you don't know where to look for help. And when it does exist, we should be kind of supporting them and making sure that we're joining those dots there and connecting them.
Okay. So with that in mind, I mean, obviously it's important to ensure that students are looked after. It's also important to tell their parents and internationally, showing that Perth is a welcoming and community-driven place where they're looking after these international students. How are you working with your international partners to show that you're sort of in this together?
Thank you to the Study in Australia partnership team for developing one of the most versatile hashtags, I think. The hashtag in this together. I probably use it about 3 times a day. It's great. So I kind of split them up into the 3 C's. So we've got community, calm, and connected. We're creating a stronger community through this because the protocol that we have in place ensures that no students are left behind. By involving the consulates, other associations, we're ensuring that the student gets the support that they need, not just financially, but also their wellbeing and that sense of community that they might not have had before this because they had no reason to go to their consulate. And we want to make sure that that's a positive experience for them as well. We do believe this will assist the community in growing. And yeah, I think we'll come out of this stronger and hashtagging this together. We're trying to keep them calm as well by creating regular COVID bulletins as well. So I think they're about twice weekly at the moment, depending on the amount of information coming out from both state and federal government. But we're making sure that not just students are well informed, but agents and institutions and other stakeholders all know they're keeping kind of informed but not alarmed, or alert but not alarmed. And making sure that kind of they get the most current and correct information as well. We're also commencing an interactive mental health series as well with Happiness Co. So that's starting next week and will be a fantastic way to make sure that students are kind of staying connected, which is the last C. So connected, where we did have an international education event series, which was an in-person monthly kind of catch-up. We've moved that to a digital calendar of events. We're doing things like online coffee catch-ups. We've got an artsy afternoon this afternoon, so kind of a live drawing session. And we're doing Netflix parties and fun things like that as well. So the students are just loving meeting new people and seeing this as an opportunity to slow down and kind of connect on that different sense as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. The level of innovation coming out across the sector is really incredible to see. And yeah, student support is an area that I guess it's always been something that the institutions have really tried to do a lot of. And then the different study bodies have had to do a bit of as well. But it seems like everyone's doing it in totally different ways now. I'm just curious. I wonder how it's all going to sort of manifest once this is all over and how student support will be delivered in the long term. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all comes about.
Support means so many different things to so many different people, and even with working with all the 5 universities here in Western Australia, our support contact has been part of so many different departments, whether it's student life, transition services. It's very, very broad, and it goes to show that support means so many different things, and it's important that we try and cover all of those.
Well, if we take a step back, though, I mean, the sector is still an industry. It's a sector, and generates a couple of $1 billion or so every year for the WA economy. It's $39 billion nationally. I guess I'd like to hear about what's going on in the context of the StudyPerth Education Action Plan, which you released in late 2018. How do you think this is going to change the sector from now on, and how do you think the sector will respond based on the impact that's going to happen?
Yeah, so I think how the sector, government and all of our study bodies respond to this will definitely impact how we recover and how we come out on the other side of this. all eyes are on Australia at the moment because we're doing wonderful things with actually getting over this pandemic. So we need to ensure that we're doing wonderful things in other areas as well. We've got an international education working group around kind of adapting things and COVIDifying them, as I like to say, here in the state, which has representatives across all sectors from schools through to universities as well. So we are making some changes in our action plan, and some of those were just postponing projects. Some of them were kind of turning them upside down and changing the way that we think about them. We had intended on opening an international student hub right in the centre of Perth in June. So probably not going to happen because we might still be social distancing at that time. But we're moving away from the social distancing, from that being a physical sense, to actually making that student hub virtual as well. And that will be connecting students with the community, with entrepreneurs, startups, innovation, the hashtag buzzword community, and integrating that into Prosper as well, which is our employability portal, which spans through the entire student life cycle. So these digital solutions are more important than ever. It caters for that connection without the physical connection, which is really important at the moment. So changing all of that. We're also reviewing our market action plans and COVIDifying those as well. So changing the way that we recruit in the future and how we can recruit from the comfort of our homes.
Yeah, I think recruitment is going to change forever. I'm speaking to Rob Lawrence tomorrow about this exact issue, and he's got some strong thoughts on how this is going to happen, because I think it's going to have to rethink, is travel the best way necessarily? And it's really
by necessity. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear a bit about what's going around the community. I mean, part of government is really a curation, I guess, of what's going on around the community and bringing bits together so the public can understand it better. I am seeing on social media some community initiatives and to support international students in the wider community. There are restaurants offering free meals and things like that. I'm just curious, have you seen anything in Perth recently that you're interested to share with our audience?
Yeah, it's been quite heartwarming to see, actually. So we've had the same with local restaurants providing free meals to international students as well. I'm looking at developing a program with the WA Food Ambassador that's actually encouraging local chefs to teach international students to cook, which can then feed other international students. So helping those who are studying commercial cookery courses. There's been individual members of the community offering grocery care packages, giving them to StudyPerth to then give out to the students as well, which has been fantastic. We've had people reach out and offer up free accommodations, so emergency accommodation, rooms for rents, whatever it may be. But just opening up that spare bedroom, which is, again, just shows that the sense in the community is really changing. And Rottnest Island have donated some bicycles, which is what we're getting a bit of a call out from international students, because it will allow them to kind of gain employment in those delivery services as well. And just get around. I mean, nothing funner than riding a bike around town. So there's lots of different little things like that. And the societies and associations that we're working with as well are coming up with new and innovative ways. And it's good.
Yeah, I saw a bike shop in, I think it was Sydney or Melbourne or something like that, that was doing $10,000 of revenue on a Saturday normally, and then it jumped to $50,000 in one weekend because all these people are coming in buying bikes now that they're stuck at home.
And an international student, if they need to get the bike to get employment, it's kind of that weird circle of, well, how do they afford to buy the bike to then get the employment? So by helping skip that step, and we're actually working with the Indian Society of Western Australia to manage the distribution of those bicycles around as well. But it's great to have organisations like Rottnest Island get on board and help out where they can.
That's fantastic. It sounds like the Perth community is really, really getting behind StudyPerth and helping you deliver these services. And thank you very much for spending some time with us today and telling us about the crisis relief package.
That's right. Thank you.
Thanks.